so we can transition into Minnesota. But Matthew had another big time notable omission for sure.
Okay, so he wasn't left off because you weren't including him. He was left off because you just didn't want to say his name until we were ready to transition.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, ouch. And yeah, ouch for the Gophers too in Friday night, which like, I don't know, you said it. I don't know if you were like saying this to make people sitting around us feel better, but like some pretty good fucking hockey games.
Yes, that was, so we were in the house for both games, Minnesota versus Michigan State, number 1 and number 3 going toe to toe. 2 phenomenal hockey games on Friday.
Different games too.
Very different games. Friday night, technically a 3-3 tie. Michigan State pulls it out in the shootout because Minnesota's record in the shootout is unbelievable.
Do you remember how many straight?
23.
23.
I was like, how is that even humanly possible? It's insane to me.
Jupiter from Gopher Puck Live egging everyone on to ask Bob about it in the post-game availability. Like, who's going to ask him? Who's going to ask him? Who's going to ask him? Like, I'm sure as fuck not.
That was so funny. We were walking down the stairs from the press box to the media room to ask question, and the whole way he is like, so you're gonna ask me what? Are you gonna like man up? You're gonna ask? You're gonna like be a little
Jupe, and like he won't hide from it. Like he does not want to ask questions. Like he
sets the camera up.
He sets the camera up and he gets the hell out of the way. There was one night a couple weekends ago where he was the only one there for Friday that like was available for it, and so like he had to ask all the questions. But they're like, so do you want us to bring any players? He's like, don't do that to them. Don't put them through that.
But my favorite part of him egging everyone on as we're walking downstairs was there's like a 10-second period where no one says anything, and he just goes, it's 23, like 23 in a row. Shut the fuck up, dude. It was so funny.
It was good.
And then as soon as Motzko walks out, he hits like end on the video, and he goes, "You cowards!" Like, you cowards.
You're right.
You're the one that had the stat ready to go, dude.
You know how to talk.
Yeah, exactly. But
no, and his cop out was like, just tell him Vigo wants to know.
Yeah. But we'll go back and just talk about that game in general more. But again, 3-3 tie, shootout loss. Saturday night, very different hockey game. Minnesota's all over them, honestly. Like, they were giving up like the odd chance here and there. And Isaac Howard is the one that opened the scoring, which, I mean, he was so good.
He did pretty okay things that game for them, for sure.
Minnesota takes a 3-1 lead in the third period.
But see,
they proceed to give up 3 straight in a matter of 5.5-6 minutes or so.
Was it even that many?
The goals.
It felt like it happened in 10 seconds. I know that's not the case, but like
the 3-3 and 4-3 goal, they think that was like a minute apart. And then eventually they tack on an empty netter, so a 5-3 loss. But I mean, for how depleted Minnesota was both games, and how many guys are just missing, and like the way they had to orient the lines, the guys that they were just rotating, they were right there. And I mean, Motzko said it after both games, just ran out of gas, it felt like. And I mean, even that game on Friday, though, that was there. And they were down 3-1, they come back.
Yeah, kind of the reverse. But like, it sucks. Like, screw you, Hockey Canada. Like, having Wood on Friday would have made so much of a difference. Not only like, hey, maybe they win that first game, but also just having fresher legs, because they ended up literally rolling 3 lines throughout. And like, I know some people want to make the comments, suck it, Veach, that like, oh, you don't play the 4th line at all. Like, it's really not a big deal for a good team to roll 3 lines. Like, not the way Motzko's been playing them.
Right. So again, 2 phenomenal hockey games, though, straight up. Like, that was just nonstop entertainment. But players of that tournament, first of all, Trey Augustine, one of the best goaltending prospects on the planet right now. He's got a shout to be number 1, honestly. He was insane.
I've never seen you more obsessed with a player than
he was.
Augustine
I mean,
in those
the
games.
saves that kid was making.
You didn't even care about the saves. You cared about his antics post game.
Well, yeah. So again, Friday, easy player of the game for sure. Yeah, I think he made 40 saves. It was close to 4. It was either 37, 38 or 40.
No, it was 43 shots.
Right. Okay.
3 goals. And honestly, the first goal like was a sloppy one that he probably like is pissed off about and wants back. After that, it couldn't have
30
been,
seconds into the game.
Immediately in the game. And after that, it was like, holy shit, what do we do?
That is the part to me that's even more impressive. And I wish I could remember which goaltender we were talking about, where it's like they give up an early one and their response is just to go sicko mode the rest of the game. And some of these saves that he was making were like full extent, like has no chance. Like it's easy. This is going in the back of the net. And he's just somehow there, not only just making the save, but either like maybe giving up a rebound and then like swallowing the next one, or just giving up no rebounds. Like he was unbelievable. But to give up a goal that early, Barnes rocking in Minnesota, the #1 team in the country, and you do not shy away, you do not struggle the rest of the game. You are easily the best player on the ice. Win the shootout and then just give it to the Minnesota student section. What a fucking weekend.
Dude, they were giving it to him too, though.
Oh, like, they were all over him, and he loved it.
Like, unbiased. Fans were on it.
The fans were, there was a great student section both nights. Saturday, I was wondering, like, at 5 p.m., Minnesota's already played. I was curious if it was
and it's like in the middle of finals and stuff.
It was belligerent.
They were way more intense on Saturday, to be honest.
I was like surprised.
Which, granted, being up 3-1 will definitely get the boys juiced up, but like, still. And Saturday, I don't know, because you could certainly say that the Gophers were in control for the first 2 periods, but really the first period to me felt like a big feeling out party for both teams. Like they both like saw the fireworks from the previous night and they're like, let's maybe not be like that unhinged all game and like tiptoe into this. And like neither one really did anything too outrageous and just kind of felt out the first period. Both teams played well, but like there weren't a lot of big chances. There were some, but like most of it was like kind of just a flow back and forth with no real grade A's largely.
Yeah, we didn't mention the fireworks from Friday night because both teams take major penalties, game misconducts.
Dude, insane.
And like, I mean, the hits that were being thrown, there was hatred in that hockey game from the word go. Like it was,
which is like
they
funny,
were
though,
killing each other.
It didn't feel that way to me because I went to the Michigan series the weekend before, and that was pure like psychopaths going after each other. Like it, and oh my God, we're like players on both sides ready to like shank each other in that one. This one still super intense, and you could tell, but like after the Michigan one, it was just like, yeah, whatever. It's just another hockey game.
Right. But, fair enough. But yeah, like you said though, Saturday it did like the first period felt like a feeling out process where it's just like, all right, let's see if they're gonna keep. I think both teams were like, let's see if they try to carry that fucking violence and physicality over. And like, there were some big hits. Charlie Stramel, we'll talk about Stramel. We'll do a full on Stramel deep dive here, but Stramel killed a guy. Well, he is a maniac. What he wants to be. But this year he's in control, which is great. But like in years past, he's lost his marbles. But like he threw a big boy hit, almost got tossed, ended up being clean, which we didn't know that was a thing.
Which we knew from the beginning, though, that was a clean hit. It was kind of weird that they blew the whistle to begin with, but you're going to go more in depth. Charlie Stramel, it was definitely the tale of two games because Friday night, you could see the frustration, like gripping the stick tight, chasing it, like wasn't really in the flow of the game. Whereas Saturday, like he was way more in his element. And yeah, he was teeing people up, like he was killing people and like doing it very efficiently and cleanly. And for him to get the game winner, like you said, you know, you were pulling for the Gophers just because like you were there with me, but wanted to see Stramel do something like that. And oh boy, you could see it in his celebration. Like that was like the biggest goal of his career is how he made it seem. Between that one and his goal last weekend against Wisconsin, the game winner there. And that one probably felt better. He gave it to that crowd too. That was phenomenal. Oh, unlucky 3-2 Knights. But yeah, we can just jump right into Stramel, or do you have anything else you want to touch on real quick? Largely no. I think the biggest thing for me, like you said, like two really good teams are both going to be in the thick of it come, Frozen Four time. The fact that the Gophers played this night with them, though, with the amount of injuries they have, like getting a Cal Thomas back, getting August Falloon, getting Eric Paulson, like they've got, getting Nevers back. Like they've just got so many guys injured that the fact that you can actually hang with the team that's been in the top 5 all year, like Michigan State, and put up 3 each night against a goalie like Trey Augustine, who was on his fucking game. Like
Right.
he didn't have bad games. He was
Right.
on his game, and you do that. Like it feels weird to come out and get a tie/loss and a loss, but like I feel real fucking good about this team, man. Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's what I actually I did want to mention that too.
Quick assessment just of the Gophers. Like what was your impression of them coming in, and how has that changed since watching these games?
So I think we knew that they were deep because, like you said, for the most part, they are rolling 4 every game, 4 lines, and like even all the D men get like big time minutes. I mean, Middlestat, kid Motzko's boy, he plays a ton. But like every player, if you're in that lineup, you're getting at least 8 minutes, no matter what position you're in, no matter what line you're on, no matter what your role is, whether or not you're on special teams. Like you're playing significant ice time regardless. They are so fucking deep. And that was the big thing for me. Like you said, like with how depleted that lineup was, how many guys are missing, and like some of the elevated roles that they were throwing some guys without that much experience, someone like a Beckett Hendrickson, like the roles that they given, and you play Michigan State, who's got a shout to be number 1, 2, 3 in the country. I mean, they are 3 right now, but like anyone that was questioning Minnesota being at number 1, which I don't think there was many, but if anyone like looked at that,
there was, which is weird because usually
it's like Minnesota.
People just want to be mad about the Gophers being there. I didn't really hear much hate, even from like the Nodak folks of the world. Like people were like, "Yeah, get it."
Yeah, and I mean they showed why. Again, like missing some really important players, asking guys to really step up. Like they probably come away from both games thinking like, "Fuck, we probably should have won that one," especially Saturday.
And you think about it too, man, because like we talked about this, but we haven't mentioned it on here yet. Even though they got another body back and it's a great player, like it was not Matthew Wood's best outing on Saturday. Jimmy Snuggerud, like he was ripping shots from his office, but like there was some hesitation on like Friday at least, and then Saturday, like the passes were not dialed.
Right. Yeah. He looked like he just looked like somebody who's been playing a ton of hockey.
If their best guys get back to their game, like that's another element that just wasn't even there this weekend, and they were still hanging right there with the Michigan State. So like all around, very happy about it. But
there was one other guy I wanted to mention. I meant to say, like when I mentioned players of the weekend, Brodie Zeimer, gamer, 3 goals, 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday.
Yeah, 2 and 1.
And that snipe on Saturday,
1 on Saturday
was so it was funny. It's like it was a carbon copy of his second goal on Friday.
I don't even remember what the order was.
I think it was the second goal on Friday where he
just like the only one that's seared in my brain is the Saturday one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so like the one on Friday on the power play, like picks the puck up at the circle, takes a couple steps in, little baby toe drag, and like I don't know if someone like maybe got a piece of a stick or something, but it ended up going 5-hole.
Yeah. And
by the way, I forgot to mention too, like he released and got smoked. Like he let that off after being, by the way, he missed tie. He had to go down the tunnel. Like he had a really awkward fall, went got hammered into the stanchion. And he comes back, puts up 2 tucks. But puts that one 5-hole after getting, in the middle of getting absolutely plastered to the ice. That goal on Saturday, though, same kind of thing, more so off the rush, I'd say, I think, if I remember correctly, but still from the circle, takes a couple of steps in, toe drag, but this one went top corn. And that puck, like, it hit the back of the net, and I mean, it flew to center ice. Like, that was an absolute cannon. What a shot, but he looked phenomenal both games, obviously stepped up big time with 3 goals. He looks like a fucking phenomenal prospect for Buffalo.
Yep. Just don't tell Joey that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell Joey. But like, I had to mention him because what a gamer that kid is. He's so good.
But
he scores big goals.
Every single weekend, he has added a little element to his bag, and like I'm so excited about this kid. He's so fun.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk then about the two wild prospects involved in the series. Maybe we start with Jimmy Clark, who the simplest way for me to put it, and I know you can put it into a lot more words, but he's just a guy that doesn't make mistakes. Like he's never doing anything too flashy. There's a couple of times actually this weekend where like he'd have the puck on a string and like do something cool, but like largely he just doesn't make mistakes. He does what he needs to do. It's clean. He like if you're a casual fan or if you just like don't have any interest in Jimmy, you're probably not really going to notice him a ton. But if you're paying attention, giving him the ISO cam watch, like he just doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, and that's what like so like anytime I get to see these kids in person, it's so much fun. Like I love going, like especially like a weekend like this where we see like a guy like Stramel, especially given the history, the last couple of years, the context of everything coming in, it was really good to see him in person. But I mean, I've talked nonstop about Jimmy Clark since they took him in the 7th round. Again, just love the pick. And like this weekend, especially when you talk about Minnesota and how depleted that lineup was. I mean, he starts off this year over a point per game, scoring some big time goals, big time factor on the forecheck, winning pucks. He's their first PK unit guy. Like he is doing a little bit of everything. Yeah, exactly. But like producing points when he's playing with Kurth and Wood. They've obviously broken that lineup just given how depleted the lineup is, so it looks a little bit different. But I mean, such a reliable player to throw over the boards in any situation. If you just like you're losing momentum and you just need to make a couple small plays just to get it back and like just stick on puck, make a couple passes, get some zone entries, like just establish possession. He's a guy that Moscow will throw over the boards pretty much anytime that's going on. And I mean, like, especially given the fact that line's been broken up here lately, like the points have obviously not been as frequent, and he didn't get any this weekend. But I mean,
really his game, like that's not what you're.
It was expecting. A bonus. The start of the year was an added bonus. That line was just ridiculous, especially as Matthew Wood was adjusting to Minnesota,
especially as the 4th line.
Yeah, technically, they pencil in as the 4th line.
Bob Motzko's great
bit. But he is just like he gives you a little bit of everything. Again, the point at the beginning of the season was an added bonus, but. Great face-off guy. He's on their PK. He moves really well. Like he's also just so smart at reading like stick position when he has the puck. When you see him like make a silky play, like a skill play, a lot of it is him just reading like exactly how the defensemen line up with like where their feet are, where their stick is, and he just puts it in between the triangle, and he'll just hold on to the puck below the net. And he's a small frame, but like he doesn't get pushed off the puck often whatsoever, but like him on the forecheck, the routes he takes and the way where he puts his stick, he like just forces turnovers and creates possession, creates offensive scoring chances, just in his forechecking ability. And he's so fun to watch hang on to the puck too, where he's like, you think that he's just like dead to rights. He's got 2 guys all over him, and he just makes one play where he'll put it behind his back off the boards, do a spin move, go retrieve it, and then feed it to the blue line for a one-timer. Like he's such a fun player to watch. Again, anytime you draft a kid in the 7th round, his profile where he's not like, dynamic offensive guy that's going to rip it up point per game player, like it's always going to be a long shot to become a full-time NHL guy. But like, God, do you root for a player like that? And he's so valuable, especially in college hockey for Minnesota. And he's just very fun to watch. So I love Jimmy Clark. Again, no points this weekend, but I mean, he probably logged over 20 minutes in both games. Like, I mean, at one point they were double shifting him on Saturday, and like, just like you got fucked over on the faceoffs. But I meant to say this on Friday. I was getting angry watching the live stats. I was like, he was like 3 for 11 at one point, and I was like, I watched him win 5 faceoffs against Stramel. I watched that happen. Like, I know he did. Like, it was like 3 in a row on the PK.
No, Stepan went in and changed those.
Yeah, by the way, Derek Stepan was there, and we were like, "Holy shit!"
He is not 5'10".
Yeah, hockey DB has him listed as 5'10", 5'11". He's like as tall as Stramel. He's 6'3". I swear to God. But whatever.
Yeah. All right. Moving on though to Charlie Stramel. Already mentioned like tale of 2 very different games for him, but end of the day, if you're a Wild fan and you watched this weekend and you still want to be mad about Charlie Stramel being a prospect of the Minnesota Wild, I don't value your opinion.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Literally, I had a nagging suspicion that Friday he was very pedestrian, very late plays, just looked pissed off, really struggled. Well, I should say he wasn't bad. He was just like at no point where you're like, oh, look at him go. Like he didn't make a ton of noticeable plays. He's still physical. He did draw a penalty where I think it was the game tying goal on Friday where he did, which was not. I mean, it was a penalty, but he could have got 2 for embellishment, but it's fine. So he did factor it that way, I guess. But like just not many plays where you're like, yep, there's like the Charlie Stramel that's been going off this year as a number 1 center on a top 5 team in the country. But it was funny. I had a nagging suspicion Friday was going to go that way. Literally off the opening faceoff, he got fucked over by the guy dropping the puck, and he literally didn't move his feet for like 3 seconds and was just yelling at the ref. And I was like, oh no, he might get thrown out tonight. I was like, So the rest of the game, he was just chasing. He was late. And like didn't really get a ton of puck touches in general, took a penalty early. And again, not like he was a problem, but it was just like not exactly what we were maybe like hoping for or expecting, especially just given the context how this year's going. Saturday was different off the jump. Like he was all over the ice. He may have finished that game with 12 hits. Like he was throwing his body around on the floor. There were a couple of times where I was getting nervous.
He was moving his feet.
So that was the big thing. Friday, he was late because like so often he was just watching the play, like gliding a lot. Saturday, those legs were going and he was winning all the races to those pucks. He was like defensively, again, he's like, it's interesting on the PK, they throw him out there basically to win the face-off, defend if they doesn't win the face-off, and then the second they get it clear, they'll like take him off. But like he's in there to like win that face-off, bang bodies if he needs to on that first PK unit, and then they throw him back on again, like I don't know, like minute 2. But he was a factor in all 3 zones, and I think a big part of it was him just like when his own D-men had it behind their net, he was coming back as a centerman, moving his feet, coming to the puck, and like carrying it up the ice. It's interesting too. Like he's not necessarily like a burner, but like, or he's not his first couple of steps. He's obviously not like lightning quick, but when he gets moving, first of all, you cannot take the puck from him. He's very good at just like using his frame in motion, but like he gets going when he really wants to. And there were a couple times though that someone on Minnesota would have the puck like facing the wall and he was high stepping at center ice, and I was like, oh no, don't do it. But then he would just adjust his route on the way and he would hammer the guy from the side, shoulder on shoulder, win the puck and create possession that way. I mean, he may have had like 4 or 5 takeaways, forced turnovers. He was a factor on the back check too. There were a couple 2-on-1s that he broke up, and he also, there was just like I forget, there was a big turnover at center ice, and I forget who on Minnesota. It was like a half 2-on-0, but he caught up and like got like full extension on the back check, got his stick on the puck and like knocked it away. No shot on net. And I mean, again, he threw that big boy hit. I think it was Gruba.
Oh, the one that they called.
Yeah. He absolute, and the noise that this hit made in the press box, I audibly was like, holy shit. And I was like, whoops, not supposed to do that up here. I was like, oh my God. But he initially gets a penalty and they review it for a major, and it does look bad. Like it looked like it was probably a bad hit. And I wrote down when I was taking notes, I was like, really dumb, bad penalty in the second period here. And they reviewed it, and they're like, oh, no, that was shoulder on shoulder. It was like, you could call it late if you want. It was like one of those, not late, but like unnecessary, I guess. Like you could have just not thrown that hit. But like when you watch the slow-mo of him deciding he's going to do it, he's so far away. And he is like, I know his eyes lit up when he was like, oh, his head's down. He's watching his pass. and he crushed him. And Gruba is not
Not a
a
small guy.
small man. He's 6'2", 210. Again, the noise that hit made was incredible. But they review it for a major, and then they look at it and they're like, no, it's not a penalty, which we had no idea. So we got the penalty wiped, which the crowd was,
Not thrilled.
oh man, they were mad at Stramel all weekend too, because he kind of made contact with the who was in net on Friday. No, it wasn't Surya.
Friday was Nathan Airy.
Right. Knocked him over, whatever, no penalty, and the fans were giving it to Stramel for the rest of the weekend. But all that capped off where like he's getting a bunch of chances and he gets the eventual game winner from in tight. Nice pass. I don't think it was Isaac Howard that set him up, but actually no, I think it was. Now that I think about it, it was Isaac Howard, who was ridiculous on Saturday. But he the weekend gets capped off with him, like, again, having that bounce back game where it's just a dominant force on Saturday. But it gets capped off with him getting the eventual game winner after Michigan State erases a 3-1 deficit in like a matter of 5 minutes. But he looked phenomenal on Saturday, again, just doing all the little things. Added bonus, he gets the game winner. But it was really good to see him in person. And the difference between Friday and Saturday was vast, but he was phenomenal on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I actually like pulled up because I wrote down what he finished with in the weekend. Yeah, 1 goal, 8 shots on net. He was a +1, blocked 2 shots. He was 17 for 40 at the dot. So didn't win a ton, but and he took 1 penalty. And almost took a big time penalty. Another big penalty, but yeah, no, he was awesome. So really good to see him. And again, 2 incredible hockey games. And I have a feeling we'll be seeing them going toe to toe again at some point here.
For sure.